Hi, boys and girls. So today what we're going to do is we're going to do a lesson about rounding numbers. And this is a new one for us. We've never really done rounding, so we're going to do our best to do it online like this. Remember what I always say whenever I teach you something new, especially when it comes to math. Don't freak out if it doesn't make sense to you right away. We'll keep practicing it and we'll figure it out. Okay? When you're rounding numbers, you're basically figuring out um, a number that that number is close to. And so today, what we're going to focus on is rounding numbers to the nearest 10. So let's say round to the nearest 10. Okay. All right. So when we're thinking about rounding to the nearest 10, we want to think about picking which multiple of 10 is this number closest to. So to start off with, we kind of want to think about, okay, what are the multiples of 10 that we know? So if we're counting by tens, we would say 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, and 100. And then, of course, it would keep going, right? So 110, 120, and so on. Okay. So let's start with the number 32. Okay. So the way that I round numbers is I remember it like it's a house. So I'm going to build a house on top of my number. So here's what I'm going to do to start off with. The first thing I'm going to start off with is I'm going to underline the number in the tens place because that's what we're rounding to, right? So if I look at the number 32, make this a little bit bigger for us, I know that the three digit is in the tens place. So I'm going to underline it. Okay. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to build a roof on top of my house. So I'm going to make this little roof shape on top of my 32. And then I'm going to think about, okay, what is the 10 that comes right before 32? Okay. And the easiest way that I think to do this is I take that 3 that's in the tens place and I turn the other number into a 0, which would give me the number 30. Okay. So 30 is the 10 that comes right before 32. Okay. Next step is I want to think about what is the 10 that comes after 32. So this one's really easy. All I have to do now is I need to add 10 to 30. So I go 30, 40. So I'm going to put a 40 right there. Okay. Now, my next step is I'm going to take a look at the digit that is right to the right of my tens place, and that digit is a 2. Okay. Now, there's something you need to remember. When you are rounding a number, there are some numbers that make you round up, and there are some numbers that make you stay the same, okay, or round down. So the numbers 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4 all round down, or they stay the same. Okay. The numbers 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 all round up. Okay. So these ones round down, these ones round up. All right. So whatever, oh, I have a little bug visiting me. Whatever digit this is, this tells me if I'm going to round up or if I'm going to round down. So as you can see in this one, it's a 2. So if I find 2 on my chart here, I see, oh, if it's a 2, it means it's going to round down or stay the same. Stay the same meaning that digit, that 3 right there, is going to stay the same. So if I'm rounding down or staying the same, that means that 32 rounds to 30. That means on a number line, if we had all these numbers, 32 would be closer to 30 than to 40. Okay, so if I'm rounding the number 32 to the nearest 10, I'm going to round it to 30. Okay, so that would be my answer, 30. All right, let's try another one. Let's try the number, let's try 68. Okay, so again, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to underline the digit in the tens place. So take a look at this number. What number is in the tens place? Did you say 6? Hopefully. So I'm going to underline the 6. Okay, then I'm going to build my roof on top of my number just like that. Okay, now I'm going to take a look at this and I'm going to try to figure out, okay, what's the 10 that's before 68? Okay, remember this one, my little clue is I take a look at that number, that's 6, and then I change that one into a 0. So that means that the number before, or the 10 before, would be 60. So I'll write that on this side of my house. Okay, and then I want to think about, okay, what's my 10 after 60? Okay, so that would be adding another 10, which means I would be at 70. Okay, now to figure out if 68 rounds to 60 or 70, I'm going to take a look at that number that's right to the right, that 8. Okay, if I look over here, I see 8 is right here, and 8 is a number that tells me that I need to round up. That means that I am going to pick the bigger number here. So if I'm rounding up, that means I'm choosing 70. That means that 68 is closer to 70 than to 60. So we would say it rounds to 70. Okay? Let's try another one. How about 91? Okay, so if you have a piece of paper, you should try some of these on your own. Okay, so as we're working on it, and I'm going to have you do that in a second here. So let's do one more together, and then I want you to grab a piece of paper and a pencil, and I want you to try to do one of these on your own, okay? So my first step is I'm going to underline the number that's in the tens place. So if I look at this carefully, I see, oh, the 9 is in the tens place. Okay, all right, I'm going to build my house on top of my 91. And I'm going to think to myself, okay, what's the 10? And I can always look up here too. What's the 10 that comes before 91? Okay, so I can take that 9 and turn this one into a 0, which would give me 90. All right, then I want to think about, okay, what's the 10 that comes after 90? Well, 90 plus 10 is 100. All right. Okay, so now I'm going to take a look at that 1, put my little arrow. Now, if I look up here, does 1 ask me to round down or round up? Round down, right? So that means I'm going to pick the smaller number here. So that means that 91 is closer to 90 than it is to 100. So 91 rounds to 90. Okay? All right, your turn to try one. So I want you to take your piece of paper, and I want you to write the number. Let's do the number 45. Okay, so write down 45. Now, what's our first step? What do we do first? Ah, good. Okay, I hope you underlined the tens place, and that would be 4. All right, then what do we do? Yep, we build that roof on top of our house. Okay, now here's your challenge. I want you to think about what two numbers do I need to put here? Okay, go ahead and take a minute to do that. Okay, so hopefully you thought to yourself, well, this is 45, so the 10 that comes before 45 would be 40. And then hopefully you also thought to yourself, oh, well, the next 10 after 40 is 50. All right, and then what do we do next? Ah, that's right. Let's put an arrow pointing at our ones place. And then we're going to think about, okay, 5. Does 5 tell me to round down or to round up? That's right. It's to round up. So since it's asking me to round up, that means which one is 45 closer to? Is it closer to 40 or 50? You're right, it's closer to 50. And actually, you might be thinking to yourself, well, wait a second, Mrs. Prettle, it's right there in the middle of those two numbers. And you're right. But mathematicians have decided that whenever there is a 5 in the ones place or in that place that we're trying to use to help us decide, we have decided that that's going to tell us to round up. Okay. So technically it's right kind of there in the middle, but for mathematical times, we round it up. Okay. All right. Now, let's try another one. Let's try the number 96. 96. Okay, so let's write down 96. Go ahead and underline the number that's in the tens place. Okay, so you should have underlined the 9. All right, and let's go ahead and build our house on top of our 96. Okay, good. So now here's your challenge. I want you to decide what is the 10 that's before 96 and what's the 10 that's after 96. Go ahead and do that now. Okay, so did you take a look at this 9 and realize, oh, I need to turn that into a 0? Okay, so that gives me 90. And what's the 10 that's after 90? That's right, it's 100. Good. Okay. So then I'm going to draw my arrow pointing at my ones place. And that's 6. What does the 6 tell me I need to do? Is it round down or round up? Well, I see 6 right here. So I'm pretty sure that means we need to round up. So that means I'm picking the bigger number. So which number is the bigger number there? That's right, it's 100. So in this case, 96 rounds to 100. Okay. All right. Let's do a little trickier one. Are you ready? Okay. And actually I say trickier, but it's not. If you follow the rules, you'll be fine. Okay. What if we have a number that is a little bit bigger? All right. So I'm going to scoot this up a little bit. What if I have a number like 127? And I said, okay, round that number to the nearest 10. Okay, so think for a second. Now, I know in the other ones, I needed to underline the number in the tens place. So I still need to do that. So what number is in the tens place here? Did you say the 2? Okay, good. Go ahead and underline the 2. Now, we do the same thing where we build our house, okay? But when I have a bigger number like this and I'm rounding it to the nearest 10, what I like to do is I kind of like to just ignore that 100 for right now. So I might even put my finger on it and be like, oh, it's not even there. All I'm rounding right now is just this number right here, the 27. Okay? So in order to do that, I would put my house right on top. Okay? And I'm going to think about, okay, what's the 10 right before 27? 27. Did you say 20? All right, let's put 20. And then what's the 10 that comes right after 27? 30. Right, good. Okay. So now, same idea. I'm going to look at my ones. I'm going to see, oop, I see there's a 7 here. And if I look up here, I see, oh, 7 tells me to do what? Round up. That's right. So that means that I'm going to pick my bigger number. Okay. But hold on. My answer is not 30. Now I have to bring that 100 back. So if I round this number to the nearest 10, it actually is going to equal So I got to take this 100, and then I take my 30, and there you go. It rounds to 130. Okay? Not so hard, right? Let's do one more that's like that. So another number where there's a number in the hundreds place. Okay, so let's pick the number 412. 412. Okay, so first step, let's underline the number that's in the tens place. Okay, so the number that's in the tens place is what? It's the 1. Good, so underline the 1. Okay, now again, I kind of want to just ignore that hundreds. The 400, I don't even want to think about it right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover it up again. So now it looks like all I'm doing is I'm dealing with the number 12. Easy, right? So I'm going to build a house on there. Okay. And then I want to think about, okay, what's the 10 that's right before 12? So I'm taking my 1 right here, and I'm turning this number into a 0. So I'm going to put 10. Okay. All right. And then I need to think, okay, what's the 10 that's after 12? So I'm just adding a 10 here. So 10 plus 10 is 20. All right. Now I'm going to take a look at that 2 right there. Does the 2 tell me to round down or round up? Well, here's my 2. It's telling me to round down. That's right. So that means I'm going to pick the smaller number. So I'm going to circle my 10 right here. Okay. So if I was just doing the number 12, I could say, oh, it rounds to 10. But I'm not doing just the number 12. Remember, I have this 400 right here. So that means that my answer is 400. And then take that 10. So 410. Okay. All right. So boys and girls, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to have you try to practice some of these. Now, I know that some of these, it's going to be a lot easier to do just on a piece of paper. So I'm going to give you a choice. I'm going to link a Google Doc with this, with some numbers that I want you to try to round to the nearest 10, okay? I want you to follow the exact same pattern that I'm doing right now. And so probably the easiest thing is going to be to write down your numbers on a piece of paper, just like I did, because it is a lot easier to draw, you know, like your little house on top and underline and put some arrows and things like that. So my suggestion is that you do it on a piece of paper and that you take a picture of it and you insert it into that Google Doc so that I can see your work. Try to make it so that it's really easy for me to see your work. Sometimes when you hold it up in front of the camera, it's a little goofy. So try to make it so that I'm going to be able to see your work, because I want to see, you know, if this is something that you're getting right away, or if it's something that you're still a little confused with, which remember is totally normal. You know, normally when I do rounding in class, it takes a while for kids to understand. So again, if you look at this and you're like, Mrs. Pearl, I still don't get this, do as much as you can. Maybe if you only understand that you have to underline and maybe put an arrow and put the house, at least do that. Okay. And we will do some more rounding lessons so that we can definitely get the hang of it. Okay. All right, boys and girls, good job today.